Hey everyone, let me ask you a question. There's a continent where oil flows from the ground, diamonds too. Vast tropical rainforests stretch across it, and over 1.4 billion people call it home. Resources, people, land, it has all three. And yet, it's the poorest continent on Earth. How is that even possible? Today, I'm going to walk you through the real reasons why Africa ended up this way. The kind of stuff that never makes it into textbooks. Stay till the end, because I think you'll realize this isn't just some distant problem that has nothing to do with you. Before we get into the why, let's look at just how bad the situation actually is, because the numbers need to hit first. In 2019, the Global Hunger Index ranked the 5 countries with the most severe food insecurity. Every single one was in Africa. Every single one. According to the World Bank's Poverty Index, the country with the highest share of people living on less than $1.90 a day, what economists call absolute poverty, is South Sudan. And the number? 85% of the population. 8 out of every 10 people are surviving on less than $2 a day. And this isn't just South Sudan. Madagascar, Guinea, Burundi, the Central African Republic. The 15 countries with the highest extreme poverty rates are all in Africa. In 2019, the IMF ranked 186 countries by GDP per capita. Let's go from the bottom up. 186th, South Sudan. 185th, Burundi. 184th, Eritrea. 183rd, Malawi. Keep going, and you'll find that the bottom 9 are all African nations. The 10th poorest, Afghanistan, the only non-African country in the bottom 17. And here's what makes it worse. If current trends hold, by 2030, 90% of the world's extreme poor will be concentrated in Africa. It's already this bad, and it's projected to get worse. So, why? Experts generally point to 3 main causes. Let's go through them one by one. 1884, Berlin, Germany. Senior officials from Britain, France, and Germany gathered in a room. They pulled out a map of Africa and drew lines, straight lines, with a ruler. Not a single African person was in that room. Those lines eventually became the national borders of African countries. The problem? They were completely arbitrary. The same ethnic group got split across 2 countries. Rival tribes who'd been enemies for generations got lumped together inside the same borders. So what happened after independence? Civil war. Between 1964 and 2008, Africa saw 119 civil wars. That's an average of more than 2 per year. The Rwandan Civil War, the Ivorian Civil War, the Somali Civil War, the South Sudanese Civil War. Every one of these tragedies traces back to those lines drawn without African voices. Now, here's a question you might be asking. Africa wasn't the only continent colonized. Why did other regions manage to move forward? Fair point. Look at Asia. Singapore was a British colony. Taiwan was under Japanese rule. India was colonized by Britain for over 100 years. All of them were exploited, extracted from, and started from almost nothing after independence. And yet, Singapore is now one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. Asia as a whole accounts for 32% of global GDP. Africa has been independent for nearly 60 years, and the situation hasn't changed dramatically. So what made the difference? The choices made after independence. Many African leaders and intellectuals who'd fought for freedom had deep resentment toward Europe, and they equated capitalism with colonialism. The people who exploited us used capitalism, so capitalism must be the enemy. That logic led many newly independent African nations to adopt socialist policies. No foreign investment, no free markets, and it failed, catastrophically. The system couldn't provide basic necessities. Support from allied nations dried up. People starved. When the economy collapsed, the people rose up against their governments, and that led to more civil wars. Colonialism planted the seeds. The wrong choices after independence set them on fire. But what comes next is even more shocking. Second reason, climate. Africa is hot and humid. That makes it a near-perfect environment for infectious disease to spread. Malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, Ebola, cholera, HIV/AIDS. 92% of all malaria deaths worldwide occur in Africa. Over 63% of people living with HIV are in sub-Saharan Africa. Every year, more than 1 billion Africans are killed or seriously harmed by these diseases. When people are sick, they can't work. When people can't work, economies don't function. Agriculture is the same story. Africa has 800 million hectares of arable land, but only 200 million hectares are actually farmed. Why? Severe droughts followed by flash floods. Soil with high salinity, poor for growing. Irrigation systems that never developed. The population keeps growing, but the food supply can't keep up. That gap has never closed. Third reason, and I personally find this the most disturbing: government corruption. And paradoxically, foreign aid. A Zambian economist named Dambisa Moyo wrote a book called Dead Aid. Her central argument? Aid is making Africa poorer. That sounds counterintuitive, but hear her out. Around 40% of all international development aid has historically flowed into Africa, and most of it never reached the people who needed it. There's something called the 80-20 rule of aid. For every $100 sent, $80 goes back to the organizations and administrators running the programs. Only $20 actually reaches the people it was meant for. Here's a concrete example. In 2002, the United States sent roughly $3 per person in aid to Africa. Researchers tracked where that money went. The amount that actually reached ordinary Africans? 6 cents on the dollar, about 18 cents per person. The rest was captured by corrupt power structures. Let's put names to it. Robert Mugabe, Zimbabwe's longtime dictator. He lived in a mansion with 25 bathrooms while his citizens starved to death. Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire received IMF bailouts 11 times. He transferred the money to secret Swiss bank accounts and personally pocketed $5 billion out of $20 billion in foreign aid. A member of parliament in Ghana once told journalists, even moving a single truckload of pineapples from Ghana to Nigeria requires paying enormous bribes along the way. Anti-corruption experts estimate that more than $10 billion in aid money leaves Africa every year without ever helping the people it was intended for. Africa's total external debt currently exceeds $300 billion. To service that debt, African nations pay $15 billion every year to the IMF and World Bank. But here's the thing. Much of that debt was taken on by dictators to fund their own regimes, not to build schools, not to fund hospitals. And the citizens are the ones paying it back. With every dollar going to debt repayment, there's less left for healthcare, less for education, less for the things that could actually change lives. The cycle keeps spinning. So let's bring it together. Africa's poverty doesn't have one cause. It's artificial borders drawn by colonial powers that sparked decades of civil war. It's climate and disease that still kill hundreds of thousands every year. And it's a system of corruption that swallows even the aid meant to help. All three locked together, feeding each other. Here's what I keep thinking about. The trajectory of a country depends on who holds power, what choices they make, and where the money actually goes. And that's not just an African story. What do you think watching all of this? Is there a way out for Africa? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely love to hear them. If today's video got you thinking, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll be back with an even better story.